Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, I have a very special treat for you. I am going to be reviewing a book that was sent to me by an author, Ryan Sheldon. And I'm so excited because this is literally a dating guidebook that I wish. Actually, I feel like it's come to me exactly at the right time. Maybe, could have came a couple months earlier, but I've been on my journey after my breakup with my ex PMDD partner, getting into the dating world. And honestly, I remember initially thinking about dating, and it was always so fun for me because I love meeting new people. I love people, period, and just getting new connections. But as I've delved deeper into PMDD and I've really gotten into, okay, what is it that I need while I'm in PMDD, and really starting to date as I'm looking for a PMDD partner versus just dating and hoping that they can handle my PMDD. I feel like that's what I used to do before, with all my other relationships. I would focus on dating first, and then I would kind of like hope that whoever I picked to date would fit as a good PMDD partner instead of putting PMDD in the forefront of my mind and then seeing if they felt, if they fit within the lines of that. So now I feel like I'm getting it right when it comes to dating. And this this is this book was sent to me and I was so honored. It's on pre-order right now on Amazon. You'll find the link in the show notes here, but it's by Ryan Sheldon. And this is what I want to say. This is a clean podcast and I keep it clean for a reason, where meaning I don't curse on here, because I want to keep my audience to where it can be under 15. And I don't want them to block this podcast from anywhere. Because I know that there's individuals that can have PMDD as young as I've had clients, private clients as young as 10 years old. So I don't want it to be a situation where it's like, oh, it's blocked. But the title of the book, the reason why I'm mentioning this, the title of the book is F Boys. So you know what I mean? F Boys Are Boring. So it's called F Boys Are Boring, a gay man's guide to dating for everyone. When I tell you this book had me hooked from the very beginning, when I got the email from the author, Ryan Sheldon, I was immediately captivated by the uniqueness of not just talking about dating, talking about self-worth, talking about eating disorders, talking about, just an advocate for mental health and self-love and all of these things. And I was like, I need a guide to dating. Like this is a perfect thing because I feel like I'm starting from scratch in a sense of where I'm really like figuring things out as I go. And this guide is really helping me. And what I love to do when because I have a couple of books and I'll start reviewing them here on the podcast. But what I do is I normally customize everything to PMDD before I present it to you, before I in like ingest it myself. Everything is customized to PMDD. So when I was reading this, I was like, oh my goodness, my audience is going to love this book. I wish that, because I've gotten, well, since everyone knows that I'm dating now, single but dating, which is a thing. They've been asking me all these dating questions. They've been asking me for all this dating advice, and I've done my best. And it's so interesting to me because the advice that I would give someone who is in a PMDD relationship is very different from the advice that I would give someone who is dating. And there was so much in this book that I was like, ding, 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 like I need to know all of this. But one of the first things I took some notes, and I don't normally, this is how good the book is. I don't normally take notes. I don't know if you know, but when I record my podcast, I only take one take. I don't do multiple rounds. I don't pre-record it. I don't like edit it for like certain things. It's literally real raw. And my first take, whatever it is, it is. And so I know I have a couple of friends who do music or they do like certain things, and they're like, how do you how do you like record your podcast? Like, so like, cause they see me do it one time because I was traveling and I did it. And I'm like, it's whatever I have to say to my people, and you are my people. If you have PMDD, if your partner has PMDD, you're my people. It's literally inside of me. It's just waiting to come out. I literally pour it out and then I feel so much better. So I'm so excited for today. Like literally it is like 9 o'clock at night, and I have so much to do tomorrow, but I'm like watching the sunset because here in California, the sunset's really, really late. And I was up late reading the book, and I was like, you know what? I really need to record this while it's fresh on my mind because I have so many juicy notes because I didn't want to miss a thing. And I'm going to give you an overview, like a preview of the book, like in all of the notes that I have taken. But I feel like all of you are going to get something different from this book. I almost feel like I'm promoting my own book, and I'm so happy that he wrote this because we need this information. When you're having PMDD, you really want to avoid as many ditches as possible. Like literally, I've fallen in so many dating ditches. Oh my gosh, that's a thing. I should really like coin that, dating ditches. I'm writing it down on my notes. But I've fallen into so many that I'm just like, and I learned the lesson, but I always feel bruised and battered and like, man, I wish I didn't have to go through all that in order to learn this lesson. Like, I wish I would have known it sooner. And this book is like literally what it says, like a guide. And so the first thing I want to talk about is, oh my God. So I did a podcast with Amy, and you can look back in the archives. It's a couple episodes before, and we were talking about something that's actually in the book. I can't wait to have another conversation with Amy about it because we were describing something and we didn't really know that it was actually a thing. And so when I read the book, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually a thing. And it is kind of this breadcrumbing. Right. So the first thing is like the breadcrumbing of, they're kind of like giving you just enough when you're dating. They're giving you just enough to not leave. Like it's a situation where you are talking to a guy and or a girl or a guy or girl, whatever you are, and you're really just, they're not giving you the whole cake. They're breadcrumbing you, and they're telling you just enough so that you won't leave. And I have experienced this so much because I've tried to leave certain situations, but it's almost like you feel so confused because you feel like, wow, I don't know if I should stop dating this person because, it's kind of like you still see that flicker of light. It's almost like even if you're about to break up with someone, I've experienced it so often where you're about to break up, but then you see that glimmer of hope. Like, so breadcrumbing in your PMDD relationships is where your partner just gives you just enough attention to keep you interested, not enough to like be full on what you want. They don't fully give you everything that you're requiring and that you want in the relationship. they're kind of just making sure you don't leave pretty much. So this can include sporadic text messages. Like I remember text messages are a big thing for me when I'm dating. Um, I always pay attention to the consistency in text messages, and I think it's because I'm a very habitual person. I'm a very habit-based person. I really value consistency, especially when dating. And so if like I realize the whole good morning, babe, or good night or whatever, like I only like it if it's consistent. If you're only gonna text me good morning and good night every now and then when you're in the mood, like I don't want it. I always say when it comes to dating, if you can't do it consistently, then don't do it at all for me because I will be very offended if, it you just like you do it one day and then I wake up the next day like out because if I'm in PMDD and I'm used to you texting me good morning or whatever, and then you don't do it, I'm immediately going into overthinking. I'm immediately like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And it makes me really anxious and gives me anxiety and so these are things you really have to think about when you're dating. It's like, do you want to add something to your plate that's going to exasperate your symptoms, that's going to make your symptoms worse? And doing this breadcrumbing, like doing the sporadic texting. Like some days I'll say good morning, some days I'll say good night. Like I remember dating and being like waiting up at night and then like having anxiety and not really being able to go to sleep because the person didn't tell me good night. And then you kind of beat yourself up. You're like, oh my gosh, dummy. Like, why didn't you just go to sleep? Or why are you so like, I get so hard on myself when I do this because I genuinely care. So I feel like I'm very fragile when it comes to dating. I remember one of my partners I had in the past, they had a daughter, a teenage daughter, and me and their dad were in a relationship and for a while and so I had become like kind of like a stepmom to them, but like not really like unofficially because we weren't married or anything. But I think that they knew that their dad was doing some shady stuff. And so she literally came to me and she was like, there's like, you're like the little fish in the fish tank, and my dad is like the big fish. Like it was their way of telling me that he was gonna like eat me up. Like basically, I couldn't survive in the tank, because they were basically saying like he's doing some shady stuff on the side and you're really nice and we don't want to see you get hurt. So my dad is the big fish and he's pretty much going to eat you up. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's so funny, blah, blah. No, he literally cheated on me with someone that I knew that was a really close friend of mine and coworker. And that's what she meant. Like my dad is a freaking shark and you're like a goldfish. And they saw that. So what I'm saying is I'm so genuine that it's almost like I'm like good bait for people that are dating. I'm like easy prey. Like hopefully nobody I'm ever dating listens to my podcast. Like I try to like not disclose that I have this podcast because I feel like they would come on here and get all the tricks and be like, oh, this is what I need to do in order to get on her good side. But like, so this sporadic texting, this breadcrumbing, when a person breadcrumbs, when a partner that you're dating breadcrumbs, or they have no intention of taking the relationship to a deeper level. They don't want anything serious. They don't want, a serious relationship. They're actually asking you questions about what you like just so they can get an understanding of what you like, so they can use it and breadcrumb you with it. I've had this, I call it fantasy marketing for dating. It's basically you're allowing me to create a fantasy in my mind about who you are or could be. And in the book, it really talks about this. It talks about it's called emotionally masturbating. When I saw this phrase, I was like, what? I saw it because I was like, I do that. Like I literally was like, I do that. I emotionally masturbate, meaning I would literally get off on someone giving me text messages about creating a life together. Like I start to paint a picture of what our life could look like because they start doing so. I've had this happen to me so many times, and I'm such like a sucker for it. Like I fall for it every single time, especially when I'm in PMDD and I'm feeling horrible whenever I'm in PMDD and I'm feeling horrible, I'm always looking for some form of relief. I'm always looking for some kind of fantasy to get myself out of the mindset of the suffering that I'm in. So if a partner is telling me, "Oh my gosh, I would love to take care," like I had a partner do this, or someone that I keep saying partner, but someone that I was dating do this, they're like, "I would love to take care of you. I'm totally gonna take care of you. I would spoil you. I would give you this and give you that." And like they knew that I was into, like they kind of like asked me questions about what I was into because like I was always going to the spa, I was always doing like nails, so like really into self-care, and they were like, I would love to give you a massage and just release all that tension of the day and release all that tension in your body and your life to like just make you relax about, like literally as they were talking and texting, I was emotionally masturbating. I was like picturing what that would feel like in my body. Like they were not even touching me, but they were touching me. So in my mind, I'm like downloading, like, oh, this is what they're gonna do for me. Like, oh, this is perfect. Like it's literally getting off on what someone can say to you emotionally or do it. You know what I mean? Like I've had people that actually like find out that I like to work out and they come work out with me. Like they're doing all the things. And in my mind, I'm emotionally like on the date with them, picturing a whole nother different scenario. Like I could picture us like I remember doing this, like I could picture us like you could be like working out with me and I could picture us like taking a walk with our unborn child down the street and just having a peaceful day, like after a Sunday, like going to church and going to brunch. And I've done this a lot, like when I go into social settings, I'll see other couples, you know, like doing whatever, and then I'll like be texting whoever I'm dating, and they're like, "Oh, I wish I was there with you." And I'll literally like in my mind like pop them there, like they're there, and then we would be holding hands or we would be staring at each other. Like it is actually a thing. And so when they're doing this breadcrumbing and I'm emotionally masturbating, like I'm blinded to reality. And when you're in PMDD, this is so hard because you want that escape. For those of you who disassociate when you go into PMDD, which again, if you disassociate, meaning you create an alternate universe for yourself, which I do this all the time. Um, whether it's healthy or not, I mean, it depends. Like I know what I do. Like I'm very self-aware that the things that I'm creating in my mind at this time are not necessarily real, but it makes me feel better. So disassociation is a tool that you can use when you're in PMDD. And so I do it in a way of like because I have childhood trauma. And what I used to do is when I was getting verbally and physically abused as a child, I would pretend like I was in a different place. This is why I am so much of a target for this fantasy marketing, for this emotionally masturbating, because I'm used to creating fantasies in my mind and altered realities to get me out of the place of suffering. It's one of my coping mechanisms. It's actually a trauma response. So when you're disassociating, when you're in PMDD, you know, it can look like this. You're daydreaming or you're zoning out. And zoning out is like my key thing. This is why my partner used to say, like I had, or and I used to say, like I had an avoidant attachment style when I went into PMDD. It wasn't necessarily that I didn't want to be around my partner. I was just suffering so much that I started daydreaming and zoning out. So it's like I was mentally absent. I was like staring into the abyss. And I know a lot of times when I go into PMDD, I do that. I just like I'm there, but I'm not there. And so when you have a partner and they see you doing it, like it can be very triggering to disassociate because they're like, what's going on? Like, are you, you know, like come back pretty much. My partner would say, like, we would be in the car and I'd just be staring out the window. I was disassociating. Probably because we had an argument, we had something, and it's also my way of regulating myself while I'm in PMDD so that I don't go off on PMDD rage. I take myself out of the trigger that I'm feeling and I disassociate and I start, you know, daydreaming or something like that. But yeah, so one of the things he talked about was the breadcrumbing. And then he talked about, oh my gosh, I loved it because he talked about the two types of F boys. So you know what you know what it stands for. I'm not going to say it on here, but there's two types of them. And I felt like I've had both types, and it's hard for me because there's two types of F boys. There's the toxic ones. So these are the ones that don't care about who they hurt. They pretty much have no remorse. They're just like, they'll talk to you, they'll breadcrumb you, they'll talk to you about your future together. They have no intention of doing anything outside of sleeping with you, spending time with you. Like whatever they can do to get whatever they want out of you, that's all they plan on doing. And then there's the decent ones. These are the ones that I normally have fallen for when I'm dating because they're genuinely like they're not doing it maliciously, but they actually want to sleep with you. They want to spend time with you with no strings attached. Like they know that you're looking for a relationship and they don't want to just say that they're not looking for a relationship or they don't want something serious. They kind of just like string you along when they have no strings attached. Like they'll tell you that they're interested. So here's the thing about the decent ones. I've had this situation happen. The decent ones will actually, I'll take it back. They tell you that they have no intention of being in a serious relationship. I remember when you reach a decent one, F boy or girl, because these are one of the things that I love about this book. It's like it's not gender specific. So when I say F boy, it could be F girl. This is just a characteristic. You know that term goes around, but it literally says modern day dating for everyone. So male, female, binary, whatever you call yourself, like it's all in here. But the decent F boy or girl or person, um, they'll tell you up in the beginning they're not looking for anything um that they're only interested in hooking up. I told you or I think I told you I had a person literally say, yeah, I told her on a podcast. They literally said, presented me with a proposal like all I want to do basically is to sleep with you, go out to dinner 3 days a week, and that's it. They treat you with decency, they treat you with respect, they'll buy you flowers, they'll do all the things. They'll love bomb you, they'll breadcrumb you, all the things, but they're literally telling you I'm this is all I want. Kind of take it or leave it. And a lot of times you can actually consider taking it even if it's less than what it is that you desire because they just present it in such a way that's so, you know, nice. They're not trying to be sneaky. You don't have to guess anything. You don't have to wonder. They're just being open with you. They're like, yeah, this is what I want or whatever. I want companionship. I've had people tell me that I want companionship. I'm not into a relationship. I just want companionship. I want to go on dates a couple nights a week and that's it. And I'm like, I want a long-term relationship, and they're like, yeah, I don't want that. But then you kind of feel like, well, I'm so glad that they were honest with me and they told me. It makes me want to like stoop to their level. That's when we go to these fetishes. So that there's these F boy or girl or person that has the fetishes. Um, that means they're just into something. They're into a specific thing. And you find out when you're dating that they're into something and you're not into it. But because you really like them and you're connected to them, you end up doing it. Kind of like you're not willing, you didn't want to do it, but you end up doing it because you're connected to them and you're willing to see if maybe you could like it too. I've done this whereas I've developed hobbies that I wouldn't normally do. But because I really like the person, I started to do it. Like, for example, I had an ex that was really into football, like hardcore football. And it was it was the football teams, the college football teams, it was in Alabama, Roll Tide. So their motto was Roll Tide. And there was Alabama everything, like the big giant A. And I started buying the gear, I started buying the jerseys, wearing the jerseys. I started saying the quotes, Roll Tide, roll. I honestly to this day don't even know what goes on a field when football is on. I have no idea what they're doing. There's too many people. They keep blowing the whistle, all these things. But I would like literally be full on like fangirl when it was game day and when it was like the season. It was not because I liked the sport. It was because he had a fetish for football and I was not into it. But because I was so connected to him, I was like, oh, I love football too. I knew nothing. So when you're dating, and you're in PMDD and you get like in that mode where you're really desperate for attention, affection, love, validation, all of these things, you may be dating someone to get those needs met, and you may fall for one of those fetishes where you find yourself doing stuff like find yourself cycling when you're not a cycler, find yourself hiking when you're not a hiker, like find yourself doing things that are so out of character, but because they're giving you what you actually need in PMDD, you're willing to do it. And so with these types of individuals, like you have to be so careful because they'll take you down a road. It'll take you further than you want to go. Like I remember being so far into this fetish that this person had with the football, and like it was obsessive, but it didn't make sense to me. And it was like from the outside looking in, I was like, what are you doing? Like what you lose your individuality. I stopped doing things that I would normally do on game days, like Sundays or wherever, Saturdays, whenever the days were, because I was doing stuff that they liked. And it wasn't like oh, my partner likes to do something, so I'm gonna do it. It was like literally obsessive because a fetish is something that is very all-encompassing. And so this book really talks about how you can go down the rabbit hole of that. And they talk about the 9 types of F boys. Like there's so many, and the ones that I fall for was the one that was called Love Bomber Larry. This one is I fall for love bombing so bad because my love language is words of affirmation, because I love for you to be kind, because I love for you to paint the picture of that fantasy. I'm like a sucker. So this book is literally giving you the signs so that you don't fall for it. You know what I mean? Like you kind of I learned so much about myself when I was like, oh, because I was like, I don't fall for these people like consistently. But the book is so good because it has these quizzes where you can kind of like find out your type of F boy or girl that you fall for. And with Love Bomber Larry, it's like you just met them and they're already saying that they're in love with you. They're already saying they haven't met anyone like you. They're already saying you're amazing. It's the book is like they'll blow up your phone after the first date with like text like I've never met anyone like you before. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. When I saw that in the book where it says OMG with a capital OMG, you're amazing, and they use emojis, I was so triggered because that's exactly what reels me in. Like when I start seeing really intense emojis, like I notice a pattern within myself. Everybody that I date is very intense when it comes to text messaging. Like they don't just text message and just like, hey, what it's like, hey, why, baby, why, with the heart emoji, with so many heart emojis, so many kissy emojis, so many, like if you look at my most recent emojis, like they're all, I'm gonna pull up my phone right now so you can see. But they're all like the very um intense, emojis. So they're like, let me see. It's the my frequently used it's the heart emoji, the red heart emoji, the kissy face emoji, the heart on fire emoji, the emoji with like 3 hearts around their face, the one with the big heart eyes, the fire sign. Like I am an intense texter. So when I get into PMDD, I almost it's like a form of therapy for me to actually receive, text. Like I eat it up like Gerber. Like I am so like I'm a sucker for it, and it makes me feel so much better in PMDD because when you're in PMDD, you already feel bad about yourself. Like you feel horrible, your self-esteem is low, your self-worth is low. You feel like I can't believe I just went off on my partner, blah blah. Like you have all of these things where you feel like PMDD tries to convince you that you're a horrible person. And this love bomber Larry will make you feel like gold. And what happens is this love bomber will begin to um, produce some. I was like really wondering what is the obsession with me with this love bomber Larry? Because I would literally, it would be so hard for me to cut these people off once they're really good at love bombing, because I really I just, it's like I craved it. I would go like I would accept behavior that I wouldn't normally like because they would be love bombing me and I would and I just it's almost like I needed it. And so what I noticed when you're in PMDD, there are three chemicals that your body can produce that eases your PMDD symptoms. And I'm going to go over these things because going back to the book, these F boys, girls, people, they will actually produce these chemicals within your body and your mind, and it'll actually reduce your PMDD symptoms. Game changer. And so this is why it's so hard to let these people go because now they've become a reduction for your PMDD symptoms and your suffering. So you're not wanting to let these F boys, girls, people go because you're wanting to get relief from your PMDD symptoms. So the first chemical that an F boy, girl, person can, you know, give you that makes your PMDD symptoms lessened is dopamine. So this is a neurotransmitter, and you know that PMDD really wreaks havoc on the brain. A lot of people describe PMDD as an allergic response in your brain to the normal fluctuation of hormones that you experience during your whole cycle. So it's not that you have a hormonal imbalance, it is that your brain is reacting to the normal fluctuations of your hormones and it produces something called dopamine, this F boy girl person that they're talking about in this book called F boys are boring. They produce dopamine. So it's a neurotransmitter, which is a chemical, think of it like a chemical messenger in the brain. It's sending you like a text message to your brain. And it really gives a lot of signals to the neurons and nerve cells in your brain. It is so important because it gives you that feeling of reward and pleasure. It makes you feel like you're being satisfied. It's the feeling that you get when you eat something that you really, really like. It's the feeling that you get when you drink something that you really, really like. It's the feeling that you get when you have an orgasm. So this person has the ability to ignite those neurotransmitters to your brain by doing things like love bombing you and breadcrumbing you. So the things that I'm talking about are tools that they're using and it's actually connecting with your brain. So if you're in PMDD, you may start to think, wow, this person is great because now my PMDD symptoms are so much less because I'm feeling that reward and pleasure. It also it regulates your mood. And whenever I talk to private clients and they're always saying, what is something that I can do to regulate my emotions, manage my mood when I'm in PMDD? You need to get more dopamine, right? And so if when you have an imbalance of dopamine, you get things like depression and anxiety and all of these things. Well, when you're receiving dopamine, the person that is giving it to you, meaning this F boy, this F girl or person, you're starting to associate your mood being better by having them in your life. I have experienced this so often where even the slightest thing like breadcrumbing, even though they're not giving me exactly what it is that I need, because I have some form of relief, I will keep them around subconsciously. I won't want to let them go because I will feel like I feel better with them around. Are they providing me with what I need all the time? Absolutely not. But I'm not willing to let them go because I'm feeling like if I let them go, I'm not going to get this dopamine anymore. So the next thing that these F boy or girls can actually give you within the relationship is serotonin. This is another neurotransmitter that you get from being in relationships with these people because the chemical that they give you when they're doing the love bombing and things like that are, you know, it's another mood stimulator. It stimulates your mood. It makes you feel really, really happy. It gives you like a positive outlook on life. I remember when I was getting love bombed, or whenever I get love bombed, the world looks different to me. I feel so much more positive about life. I feel like the music that I choose when I'm in PMDD is more upbeat. Like if I have someone that's telling me like, "Good morning, beautiful. You're so amazing. Oh my gosh, I just can't believe that I met someone like you. Like I've been dating for so long. I've been, out here looking for someone and I finally meet you. I'm just so grateful and you're just one of a kind and everything you do, you really like to help people. You're so I can listen to that all day long. If there was a podcast of love bombing, I would probably have it on repeat. Like I'd probably listen to it every single day of just somebody telling me how amazing I am and how much, that I make their lives better. Like when you hear that from someone that you actually like, it makes you feel so good. You get that serotonin. Your brain is like, this person's good. So the brain is actually, especially when you're in PMDD, the brain is tricking you into thinking that this person is good because they're the F boy, girl, or person is providing you with serotonin. So it's like I'm getting this from this person, they must be good. And also, the serotonin is like you get emotional bonding. It regulates your emotions, so it enhances the intimacy that you have. You feel so close to the person, right? Because they're giving you the serotonin. They're telling you all the things you want to hear. And I'm not even, well, I was about to say I'm not even going to go into this, but I am. It makes you actually want to have sex with this person even more. Because when they're love bombing you and they're creating this fantasy in their mind of once they find out what you like, then they start creating the fantasy and then they're like, oh, I would love to do that for you. I would love to take care of you. I would love to be a protector. I would love to be a provider. Listen, if you tell them about your ex, if you tell this F boy girl that they're talking about in the book about your ex and what they did to you, they are going to love bomb you so quickly by telling you they would never do that to you. You don't have to worry about that. They're pretty much going to say that they're going to do the antithesis of what it is that your ex did to you. If your ex didn't give you space, they're going to give you space. If your ex didn't give you attention, they're going to give you attention. If your ex yelled at you, they're going to talk softly and sweet to you. Like if your ex cheated on you, they're going to be the most loyal thing ever. Like they're wanting to know what you didn't like about your ex so that they can tell you that they're your next. They're going to give you all of that serotonin. You're going to let your guard down. You're going to open yourself up, and it's going to make you want to sleep with them so much sooner than you even normally would because they're telling you everything that you want to hear. This is the job of the F boys, the F girls, the F people. They want to do this for you because because they're going to get their needs met. You're going to sleep with them. You'll actually be in a position where they don't even have to ask you for sex. You'll be freely giving it to them. You'll be wanting to have sex with them more than they want to. You will be appearing that you want to have sex with them more than they actually want to have sex with you. Like meaning they're really the one that really just wants to have sex with you. But because of how they're giving you that boost of serotonin, you'll be throwing yourself at them and they won't have to do anything. And that goes into the next hormone that these F boys and girls and people bring to PMDD relationship is that makes your symptoms less is oxytocin. I know we've all heard of this. It's called the love hormone or the bonding hormone. It's where it makes you feel like really, really safe, really, really loving. This normally happens for me when I'm in ovulation. My oxytocin is like on fleek, as they used to say back in the day. It is on 10. I want to bond so much when I'm in ovulation that if I almost it's almost dangerous for me to be around an F boy, girl, or person because they can love bomb me and I will eat it up like Gerber. I will be like, oh my gosh. And I'll start the fantasy, right? I'll start the fantasy like, oh my gosh, they're gonna be perfect. I'll start planning. You can be planning, and the person in the book, Ryan Sheldon said this. He was like, I'll be on my first date, like planning our whole life together. I do the exact same thing. Like if you start talking to me about what you're doing, and be putting myself in that scenario. I start talking to you about, and when you have someone that does that, like, hey, I'm going to the gym. Oh my gosh, I would love to go to the gym with you. Like someone who is an F boy or girl or person, they're gonna put themselves because they want you thinking about them when you're doing your day-to-day activities. That's part of their ploy. They're pretty much like, oh my gosh, you're doing these things. I would love to do these things with you. We're going to be a team. We're going to do all this together. You're never going to be alone. I'm always going to be there for you. And it gives you that sense of oxytocin. Like you feel like so bonded. It's so dangerous because it's so bonding and you're so attached. It's like Velcro. Like you want to be around this person. This is when you get blinded because you start accepting things less than what you deserve because you're bonded to them. And so one of the things that he teaches you, Ryan Sheldon teaches you in the book is he says, okay, if you what kind of F boy or girl person are you attracted to? And so when I looked at the love bomber, Larry, they're like, okay, and what does he provide? Because you really want to understand whatever they provide to you is what you're missing and how can you give that to yourself? So for me, the need that love bomber Larry would be providing for me is that security that I never had in my childhood of someone just saying, I'm going to take care of you. I never really felt like I was taken care of emotionally. And I really feel like also the verbal validation. I didn't get a lot of that in my childhood. I got told really harsh things, really negative things about myself in my childhood, which meant I sought out partners that would tell me the opposite. If I got told by my adopted family that I was a piece of crap, I wanted to hear from a partner that I was amazing. So whenever I hear you're oh my OMG, you're amazing, like I immediately get that boost of oxytocin. That that serotonin, that dopamine, and they'll literally drill that in and be like, I'm gonna make you feel so safe. I'm gonna make you feel so good. And the more they say it, the more I'm like in that space of being love bombed to where I'm creating that fantasy. And so now when they do something that's unacceptable, it's harder to let that person go because now they're the source of those three chemicals that literally make my PMDD symptoms less. And so, what I want you to recognize when you read this book, and you need to go to Amazon, again, I'm going to put the link down here. But what I want you to recognize from this is that an individual, your partner, or someone that you are dating, has the ability to give you chemicals that reduce your PMDD symptoms, but they're not actually good for you. The people are not good for you, but the quality of the chemicals that they provide are. The dopamine, the serotonin, and the oxytocin are good for you and your PMDD symptoms. I just want you to be able to separate the two. And then also, I want you to be able to get activities that you can provide these three things by yourself without the person. Like, I want you to be able to provide yourself with oxytocin without it having to come from an F boy or F girl or F person, because now you're taking away their power. But if you're depending on them, you're going to start accepting way less than what you deserve. And so, one of the things that you can do for yourself to provide oxytocin, which I do a lot, is just going to get a lot of self-care things, going to get a massage, listening to really good music, meditation, positive affirmation, going outside, spending time in nature. These are things you can do for yourself without having to depend on an F boy, girl, or person. Right. So I want you to focus on that. When you're in PMDD and you feel like you're dating someone and you really want to like detach from them because you know that they're not good for you, but you know that they're providing you with this chemical. Like you notice that you're feeling really good around them, but you don't want to feel good about them. Like how many times have you dated someone that's like, I want to let them go, but I can't let them go? These are things that you can do for yourself. The next chemical that the F boy, girl person can provide for you is dopamine. And but a way that you can produce dopamine on your own is to exercise, move your body, get really good sleep. Do things that create like do a checklist, do a list of things, a to-do list of things that you really want to do. And then every single time you do them, you get a dopamine hit. I do this every single day. That's why I do my PMDD Partners morning routine. Every single time I do it and I finish one exercise, whether it's like drinking my lemon water or going to move my body or walking my dog, I get a dopamine hit because I got something done. So dopamine is like getting something done, going out with your friends and just having fun. And I've learned to do that since I've been single, is just going out to do social activities. And it has made my life so much better because I'm not waiting to go on a date with a partner in order to have a good time. Like I can have a good time by going out dancing with my friends. Like I can do other things outside of my partner or a person that I'm dating. Basically you don't want to be so dependent on these F boy girls or people because then they have that much control over you. They have a lot of control over you. So the next chemical that they provide for you is the serotonin. So getting out in sunlight can provide you with that. Like that's why I go walk my dog every single day in the morning. And like I do walks with my dog like 3 times a day just to get out in nature. Going to listen to something really, really positive. A lot of times when you listen to my podcast and you're listening to something that's really, really helping you, it lowers your stress level. It gets you more focused on something positive. So then you get to that place of really, doing something about your suffering, especially if you're in PMDD. The worst thing that you can do is be suffering in PMDD and not have any tools. So serotonin, you can get serotonin, which is this chemical, this neurotransmitter in your brain that helps your symptoms get better by listening to my podcast, taking notes on the tools and doing something about your suffering. When you're doing something about the suffering, it makes you suffer less. When you're sitting there just suffering, it doesn't do much for you. So please, please, please go get this book. It's on pre-order. It doesn't get released until I think it gets released like September the 10th. But go get the pre-order of this book, F Boys Are Boring, and I look forward to there's this new feature on the podcast now where you can text me or you can always DM me on Instagram, In Love with PMDD. Follow me on TikTok, DM me there, and let me know how you enjoyed the book. Definitely go follow all of Ryan Sheldon's, this amazing author's um, social media content and just his cause for eating disorders and mental health and positivity. But I literally am like eating this book up like Gerber. Like I am loving it and it's come at such a good time. I'm all about the law of attraction and things coming to your life at the right time for the right season because I think if I was single, I probably would look at this book and it wouldn't really apply to me. So of course I would still read it and review it, but I feel like now I can apply it not to just my life, but my clients as well, and customize it to PMDD. So definitely go get this book, and let me know what you think about it. So until next time, we got this. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.